This conference will now be recorded.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Kathy Neifeld with Agency One. It is Wednesday, May, and I'm pleased to present to you a webinar, Disability Insurance During the COVID-19 Crisis. This is as you all know, this is a continuation of our Monday, Wednesday, Friday weekly webinar series. May is Insurance Month, and we thought that this would be the perfect opportunity to introduce you to and highlight our strategic relationship with the Eugene Cohen Insurance Agency. They are disability insurance specialists, and Agency One started doing business with them not quite a year ago. And we've had a number of advisors contact us and say that they really weren't happy with their existing DI relationships. And did we have a solution that would offer them the support that they receive, just like the support that they receive from One, in terms of responsiveness, product knowledge, how to get things done, and knowing that somebody truly has your back. And we found that with the Eugene Cohen Agency, this was everything that we were asking for and more. So with that, that's my introduction. I hope that you'll listen to this with an open and know that it's always good to think about new possibilities and new relationships as you're placing business. Our featured speakers today we're pleased to have Eugene Cohen, who's the CEO of the agency, Michael Cohen, who is the president, and Paul Mercado, who is one of the disability insurance specialists there. And they're all going to tell a little bit about what they can offer. They can get business plans during the time of COVID-19. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to you three gentlemen. Thank you.
Well, I can tell you that disability income protection is one of the most important products a financial advisor can offer. But just so happens that this is Disability Income Awareness Month, the month of May. This is the month that advisors will talk to their clients about the importance of income protection. And I have been presenting disability income protection for, I want to tell you how long, an awful long time, 56 years. I've given so many presentations you can't possibly imagine. I can tell you one thing that's never changed, the need for this product. And I can also tell you that it is the best kept secret, because many times the advisors don't mention the importance of disability income protection. Now, I can tell you that when you talk about assets, the value and so forth, there are two parts of our business. Number one, we help consumers accumulate assets, and number two, we help them protect assets. And I can tell you that when you look at disability income protection and you look at the value of what this product has to offer, it is incredible. You know, when we look at it and we think about it and we think about future income, we think about what it's worth. Let's take an individual who's making $75,000 a year. And this individual has a raise every year of 5%. By the end of that 35-year-old, by the time that individual is 65, they've earned in future earnings. This is what their future earnings were $5 million. Now, when you get to the high income individuals, 2 and 3 and 400,000, it's unbelievable what that future income is. But they really don't look at it like that. They don't think about it. They don't think about it until a financial advisor points that out. And that's what our job is during Disability Income Awareness Month. Our job is to advertise, talk about it, and let people know how important it is. So when I started in the business, when I started at 23 years old, and I remember looking at a trade magazine, and I see this picture. I see it now. I see it every time I give a presentation. Very simple. It was a picture of a bridge. And on that bridge, it had all the obligations the non-cancelable obligations that a person has: food, clothing, shelter, all the necessities of life was all on that bridge, and it had a paycheck holding it up, and it had income holding it up. And it said right off to the side, it said, what would happen if the paycheck disappears and the income disappears and the bridge collapses? So what would happen? And then off to the side, it talked about what would happen. It said, first of all, if the income isn't there, we can talk about the savings are going to disappear. The retirement plan is going to disappear because the individual is taking retirement earlier because the individual is disabled. His home may disappear with mortgage foreclosures. I have no trouble offering disability, getting an individual to decide on buying a disability income protection policy, because I believe the most important thing is need. And if someone needs it, need motivates action, and they're going to buy it. So I look at it and I say, we can't tell what we can't predict the future. I tell clients this all the time. We cannot predict the future, but there's one thing we can predict, we can talk about. We can talk about making decisions that if the unforeseen happens, that you'll be prepared. And that's what we do in our business. When I look at this, and every year, Life Happens has a spokesman for Disability Income Protection Awareness Month. And I love reading the articles on Life Happens, because every single one, when they talk about a disability or what happened, the individual had a problem, they always do one thing. They always thank their advisor for bringing it up to them. Now, the speaker this year is Scott Ryder. He was a financial advisor. Scott was a runner, jogger, tried out for the Olympics, really was very, very athletic. And one day, what happens, he had some tingling in his feet, didn't know what it was, went to several different doctors, they couldn't diagnose it. At 47 years old, they gave him the bad news. They said, Scott, he had Parkinson's. And also he had suffered from cognition impairment. So Scott Ryder, the speaker of Disability Income Awareness Month, went unclaimed for many, many years. And he said that his family never suffered financially because he was prepared for the unforeseen, and he was able to purchase a disability policy when he was healthy. I was at a wedding, and I want to bring this out to you. I was at a wedding, relaxing, and all of a sudden, drinking a glass of wine, and I'm talking to an individual. And the individual's name is Larry. And he said to me, what do you do for a living, after we found out where I lived and so forth? And I said, I'm in the disability income protection business, been offering it to consumers for years, and I work with advisors telling them the importance of income protection. He said, well, you can tell them my story. I said, what's your story? He said, I have two people to thank, two advisors that helped me. So I said, what's the story, Larry? He said, well, at 32 years old, practicing dentistry, nice income coming along and everything's fine. And an advisor came in and he said to me, Larry, you need life insurance. I took some life insurance. He said, you have to think about the future. He said, we have to talk about disability income protection. So I said, okay, fine. He went through it. He said, but make sure we insure you in your regular occupation. And he said, also make sure that you pay with after-tax dollars. and make sure your benefits go to at least 65. So I picked up $5,000 a month of it. Felt pretty secure. I've had many financial people come in there to try to talk about my car insurance and everything. No one came to see me until 19 years later. An individual came in and was reviewing my product, my policies. And he said, "Can I take a look at your disability coverage?" I said, "No, you only have $5,000 a month. Your income has gone up. You need more." So I took another $5,000 a month, insuring the regular occupation, paying with after-tax dollars, doing everything exactly like it, going to age 65. And then all of a sudden, at 53 years old, I'm driving my car, coming home from work, and I noticed I couldn't see very well out of my right eye. What happened? I had a stroke in my right eye. I lost my vision in my right eye, he said. I could no longer practice dentistry. The most important person in my life at that time was my financial advisor. I called him up. I told him my problem. He said, "Larry, don't worry about it. Well, we'll do something. We're going to put in some claims." We put in a claim to 2 companies. Couldn't practice dentistry. I taught, and I was receiving $10,000 a month. $10,000 a month. And while I was working in another occupation. And I could tell you something, Eugene, that financial advisor, he was so darn important to me. I am so glad that someone came in after 19 years and asked to see my disability insurance. Now, there's 3 things that we can talk to a client when they call up on the phone. The first thing is the client calls up and says, I have to tell you, my spouse has had a serious heart attack or a stroke, and they're not going to work for a long period of time. Do we have anything like that, Mr. Financial Advisor? Do we have anything that will pay if he can't or he or she can't work? Well, you can answer, no, we never really talked about it. Or the second thing you could say is, yeah, we talked about it and I went through it thoroughly. And your spouse signed this form and said, "Hey, I'm not interested." I really tried to talk him into it, but he just wouldn't go along with it. Or the third thing you can say is, yes, we talked about it. Your spouse picked up $10,000 a month that's paying after 90 days, insuring your spouse in the regular occupation and paying benefits all the way to age 65. So I can tell you he's well covered. And now I'm going to turn it over to Mike, and I can tell you I enjoy what I do, and I hope you talk to all your clients about disability income protection because it is so important. It is so important. Thank you.
Very good. Thanks so much. Hey, Lisa, if we can go back to the first slide, actually, the second slide, the one right before Eugene, that'd be great. I just want to talk a little bit about the DI desk. Thank you very much for having us today. Agency One is a fantastic partner. As everyone knows, Agency One is just a fantastic agency to work with. We've been friends with Gonzalo and Kathy for years, and I'll tell you at the meetings, when they talk, people listen because they're one of the most respected agencies that we've seen. So just a fantastic partner, and I want to thank you for allowing us to be here today. I'm not sure if you can see me. I still see Eugene, so I apologize if I'm not pressing something correctly. Anyway, the DI desk we established years ago, it's really designed to be your one-stop shop for disability insurance. And so it's staffed by 5 DI marketers, and that's what they do all day long. They talk about disability insurance. They educate people about disability insurance. We're available for on-phone point of sale as well. Eugene was honored by the International DI Society, a Lifetime Achievement Award 6 years ago, actually about 11 years ago, and is just well respected throughout the industry as well. So it's a great partnership with Agency One. We do a lot of collaboration about the disability insurance underwriting, and we really look forward to working with you. That's the phone number and an email address for the DI desk. Lisa, if you can move to the third slide now, the one right after Eugene's, that'd be great. we don't have a lot of time, so I'll try to be brief here. And we have Paul that's going to be talking next. He helps to run the DI desk with Eugene, and he'll be able to walk through some of the expanded underwriting and the electronic abilities of the DI processing right after I'm done. What we did want to talk about was if you look at your current book of business, or if you're looking at clients that in today's environment are still buying disability insurance, we're seeing a lot of applications still on professionals, on physicians, accountants, attorneys, business owners of essential businesses. We're seeing a lot of activity with these individuals. Disability insurance is such an important product, very important to make sure that your clients are covered. One thing we advise brokers to do, financial advisors to do, is to always make sure that they have an insurance inventory of their client's insurance. Because if a client passes on or a client gets disabled, as Eugene was saying, the client's going to call the financial advisor and say, please let me know what insurance policies I have. And if the client passes, then the family is going to reach out to that financial advisor to go through what the portfolio was and to go through the insurance products. So it's very important to make sure you have the disability part covered. And what's interesting is when you take that insurance inventory, you're going to discover many things. You're going to discover life policies that are coming due. You're going to uncover long-term disability policies that may have not been reviewed, as Eugene said, for 20 years. No one approached Larry about getting more disability insurance. And you're also going to uncover clients not knowing what they actually have. And that's more common when we go through this exercise with advisors. They say, I can't believe how many of my clients didn't realize what they had. They told me they had disability insurance. When I looked at it, it was actually a health insurance policy. They told me they were covered with group insurance. It ends up they were only covered for up to $3,000 a month, and their expenses are $10,000 a month. So you really want, as the advisor, you want to don't be satisfied with the answer that the client gives you that they're covered for disability insurance. Let them know you really need to have that for your file. You want to take a look at it, and then that's what the DI desk will do. They'll help you analyze the current coverage that they have in force. We see a lot of activity with that business. Now, of course, we can't go through every function that the DI desk does for you, but we want to have some highlights for you. And again, we don't have the time to really take a deep dive into each one of these, but we wanted to give you an overview of how the DI desk can help improve your business and, more importantly, get coverage for your clients. That's the most important thing. That's what we're here for. We're here to make sure that individuals are protected from life's tragedies that come up. And we want to make sure that your clients are covered as well. That's why we do what we do, and how we do that is through the DI desk. So when we look at some of the other products, we talk about individual disability insurance, that's pretty obvious. But also there's other products such as business overhead expense. So you have clients that own businesses, and business overhead expense are really designed for individual clients that are driven, have companies that are driven by one individual that really creates the revenue stream. A dentist is a great example of a physician that has a small office. They drive the revenue stream. If that individual gets disabled, not only do they have personal issues, but how are they going to keep their business functioning? How are they going to pay the employees? We're seeing a lot of that now in businesses that were affected by the COVID epidemic. Imagine if that was an individual that was disabled, how are they going to pay for their employees? That's what a disability overhead expense helps to do. There's also disability buyout policies. I'm sure most of you have worked with life buy-sell agreements where the life insurance helps to fund that agreement. Deep inside that agreement, there usually is a disability provision as well. And we need to make sure that with the disability provision that's funded. So you want to make sure that the disability part is also funded. Key person disability insurance, very important product also. Key person, in fact, I just had a call the other day. They said asked the client, the broker asked the client asked the broker, said, we have a company, where we have one of our employees is driving more than 50% of the revenue. We're concerned if that employee gets disabled, it's going to hurt the company. Do you have products for that? The answer is yes. We have some traditional key person policies, and we have Lloyd's of London type policies also. The DI desk is very skilled in that. It can help you with that. Also, we have a product called retirement security. So many of your clients are contributing to qualified plans. If they're not working, they probably won't be able to contribute to that qualified plan. So there's a policy that's out there that can create funds for retirement, putting that into a side trust. It's not qualified money, but it's money that's put aside that's available when they retire or at age 65. So there are details to that policy, and the DI desk can walk you through all those details. There's also GSI programs, which are guaranteed standard issue programs. Guaranteed standard issue is when we have a group of employees, let's say a law firm of 10 lawyers. We can get guaranteed issue coverage for those individuals, even if some of them have health conditions, as long as they're working and they haven't missed work for the last 180 days. It's a fantastic program. There's also something called GME, which is Graduate Medical Education Programs. Those are designed for residents. There's companies that have those programs available as well. So if you have those kind of clients, let us know. And then the surplus lines and impaired risk business, right? Anything that you need in disability world, we can get done for you, most likely get done for you. Of course, there's cases that may be more of a challenge, but the DI desk is very skilled in utilizing all the resources that are available to help find coverage for your clients. So with that, we look forward to working with you on the DI desk. And I'm going to turn it over to Paul. And Paul, if you can go through some of the underwriting changes and how brokers can work more in an electronic environment, that'd be great.
Oh, sure. Absolutely. Thanks, Mike. Hello, everyone. My name is Paul Mercado, one of the DI marketers. On that slide, you'll see identifying the client, which is how we provide actually great service is to find the right carrier for that client. We like to ask questions. We get a lot of requests for business owners. So if that happens, we'll come back and say, okay, what kind of business do they have? How many employees? What is it that they have for day-to-day duties? So we can determine the correct occupation class. But also, as Mike had mentioned, with business owners, there's other products, overhead expense, if they have a partner buyout. So that helps us collect as much information and also go into income documentation we would need. Business owners can have expenses, obviously, and so they may say they're making $200,000, but the taxable income on their tax return is half that much. So we take that into account to get the right quotation for you, the right numbers for you. We also look to see, does the individual have existing group coverage? Or maybe they have something through work, and we find out how much and if it's taxable, paid for by the employer or non-taxable. We like to look into health history to help manage expectations. It's very crucial to know if the individual is on certain medications, anxiety meds, visits chiropractors, so that we can help find out, is this going to result in some type of modification or exclusion, and let you know ahead of time so that the client is well aware. We have a request for proposal, or I should say there's an agency one request for proposal, which will collect that information. Due to the COVID-19, there's actually been a relaxation, so to speak, of the underwriting limits that used to have before underwriting is required as far as labs. So currently, we can now offer in disability up to $10,000 without lab requirements, the blood, urine, vitals. It used to be 6. We can go up to $25,000 for this overhead to cover business expenses, where it used to be 10 without requiring labs. And for buyout, we can go up to $1 million. We do this with 2 of our key carriers, Standard and Principal. Both these carriers, as well as the other carriers we use, are able to use electronic applications as well as the traditional. And during these times, it's been much easier to use an electronic format. We have the ability to go, if an agent is contracted, directly through the carrier website to generate an app, or we can email applications, and as long as you have the ability to send it through an approved vendor such as DocuSign to your client, and have a certificate or an audit that shows it's going from one computer to that client's computer, those are acceptable as well. Delivery requirements with these carriers are also being sent out. In the case of Standard, electronically. So the client can sign online and it's submitted directly to the home office, or it can be printed if the producer will have a client coming to the office, for example, or to mail out a policy. So both options are available for quick delivery. As far as any needs or help, we have the DI email address there for you, or the 800 number that you can reach out to us with any questions, and we'd be more than happy to assist you, because we feel that as long as we can educate and point you in the right direction, you'll want to write more of this very important business.
Very good. Thank you, Paul. Well, we'll open up for questions, and Kathy and Lisa, I'll let you guys close it up then.
So, Mike, Paul, and Eugene, thank you very much. You just briefly mentioned, Paul, standard and principal. So are there any other carriers that you'd like to highlight, especially during this pandemic that we're in terms of other relaxations and ease of business in terms of processing? And in addition, maybe somebody would like to comment on market segments that the Cohen Agency focuses on: white collar versus impaired. White collar versus blue collar, and then we also had another question about impaired risk disability insurance. So I just threw a lot out at you. Topic one was further carriers and other opportunities during this impaired risk time period, the market segments that you identify, and impaired risk DI. So you can take that in any order that you like.
I think
sure.
I think what might be good is if we'll all have a little comment on it. I think the important thing is that we have about 10 different companies that we go to on the DI desk, and each individual is analyzed, and we'll look at each one on a separate basis and make different recommendations based on that. In the white collar market, we found that standard and principal has become kind of the Pepsi and Coke, but there's definitely other nice companies and good companies that we work with as well. All of the companies have made allowances for trying to make it easier to do business in this environment. Some a little bit better than others. So based on the individual case, I think we would make different recommendations based on if process is more important than actual product. And process and product is a very important topic to really look at with your individual clients to see if process is going to influence the product recommendation. So if process is really important, it's important to let the DI desk member know, let Paul know, and Juan, that it's the client needs a certain process in order to proceed with the coverage. And then when it comes to impaired risk underwriting, companies have different bandwidths of what is impaired and what's not impaired. And so that's why if we don't have a good resource in the more traditional markets, then we have alternative markets that we go to on the impaired risk side. And impaired risk can mean different things to different people. So with that, I'll have Eugene make some comments, and then we'll finish up with Paul.
Yeah, one of the things in the disability income protection arena, when you get into your large cases, there's probably only two reinsurers. They're using they all use basically the same reinsurer. There is one company that isn't using any reinsurer, but I look at the fact that for example, if someone comes in and they're a chiropractor, and they say, well, we got to write a chiropractor. Well, a lot of companies treat chiropractors, they're really terrible. At that particular time, there's only one company that we would use for that, would be Mutual of Omaha, because they're the only one that's generous with that. If someone comes in and says, I have a dental hygienist who's working for Dr. Jones, and we need coverage for her. Well, there's one company that is unbelievable because they give them the best classification. They give them a 5A classification, where other companies won't even take them, or they'll give them a 1. When it comes in with a veterinarian, we find out are they big animals or small animals. Small animals, we go and we give them the best classification. Our job, and I look at every proposal that comes in, our job is to make sure that we do the best for the consumer. And that's what we look at. An individual called up, said, hey, I want to replace this policy. It's $10,000 a month. You have something better. When did they buy it? Well, they bought it 7 years ago. Well, I want to tell you, what's the name of the company? They tell us. Let me review that policy. Tell them to keep it. You keep it? Yeah, tell them to keep it. Great policy. Let's just sell them more. Let's see if their income has gone up. We are very big on making sure that we protect the consumer. And that's why we fit well with Agency One, because they think exactly like we think, and all their advisors think like that. So this is, and you get in the impaired risk market, we have a company called Fidelity. They're pretty good. They seem to be real good in that market. We have a case right now that Paul is working on, and he shopped the market and so forth, and no one would take this individual, and this company said they would. It's a graded benefit for the first 2 years. The benefits are reduced, and the individual, the doctor said, I said that fine, we'll go along with that, and it's a good company, terrific company, and Paul told me the premium is $17,000. This individual needs the coverage, and we were able to get the coverage for them, although they didn't get all the APSs yet, but we'll be able to tell after the policy comes down. But this is what we're in. We look after the consumer, and we use Illinois Mutual in the blue collar. We use Surety in the blue collar market. We think every single person, a person making $50,000 a year, their income is extremely important to them, just as important as someone making $500,000 a year. We treat every consumer with tremendous effort to do the best for them. That's it. Mike?
Paul, do you have anything that you'd like to add in terms of perhaps underwriting niches during this pandemic time period and ease of processing?
Well, the underwriting, obviously, it's more liberal right now. We do the tele-app, so it's a phone interview, but really the key to everything is that request for proposal. That's where you can tell us about the client. It could be very basic information, and we'll come back to you and ask a lot of questions. I hope you don't mind. We like to pre-screen. We just want to make sure to get the right fit, and then we could also advise based on the case. If the streamlined underwriting is available, or some other options we may have, or other products that can be suggested. And with the impaired risk, of course, we would take that information, collect as much details as available to see if we can get some quotes from one of our other carriers for that case.
Okay, we are at 12:33. And if anybody has any questions, please type them into the chat box. But I want to share with you a story that I experienced with an advisor about 2 weeks ago. And I had an advisor who is an estate planning attorney, actually in Florida, call me and said he had a disability case, and could agency want to handle it? And I went right to the Cohen Agency, and I called Paul. Said, we've got an opportunity, and this is somebody who likes to get things done quickly. And we submitted the case to principal, and unfortunately principal declined the case. And while we were on the phone giving the bad news to the advisor, Paul said, we can move this case to standard, and I know that they're going to take it. 4 days later, we had the case placed. And it wasn't exactly the offer that principal had made, but we were able to get the disability insurance in force. So that's just one example of the customer service that's provided by these folks, their knowledge about the industry, their knowledge of what carriers, the appetite each carrier is for a specific impairment. And we have had we've just had tremendous success. If you like the culture of Agency One, you will like the culture of the Cohen Agency, because we are like-minded. So we just wanted to make sure that our advisors were introduced to the Cohen Agency, that they know that we've got somebody that can satisfy their disability insurance needs and opportunities. And if for any reason you have some cases that you'd like looked at, you've got some pain with your existing partners, we're happy to provide this solution to you. How do you go about placing business? Give Gonzalo a call, give myself a call, give Ed Stark a call, and we will connect with the appropriate people at the Cohen Agency, and they will run with it. They will take it over, and I rest assured you are in very good hands. As most of you know, disability insurance is all about morbidity, and that is something that the Cohen Agency specializes in. You know, we're very happy with this, and we know you will be too. If there aren't any other questions, I want to thank Eugene, Paul, and Mike. I also want to remind everybody that our next WebEx is Friday at 12 o'clock, and that is featuring our friends at Prudential. We are going to hear from the chief underwriter and one of the top individuals that oversees distribution. And it's going to be a lively discussion with Gonzalo, and you're going to hear where Prudential is right now in the midst of this COVID-19 crisis, and how they're handling clients, and how they're responding to agents and getting business placed. So with that, thank you for your time, and we hope to see you again and hear from you on Friday. If you've got any questions, comments, or concerns, please reach out to us. Team Cohen, thank you very much, and everyone have a good day.
Thank you, Kathy. Thank you, everyone.
Okay.
Thank you.